Alright, this is a road test video for a Honda Civic. This is a 2.2 EX diesel. Car's registered DU59MVF. Mileage at the start of this brief road test is 74,239 miles. The reason we do the road tests basically is we're now selling to customers from all over the near continent and the extremes of the UK, and we just want to make sure that people get to see the cars they're looking to buy prior to coming to see us, and it just gives a little insight into the vehicle so you can make up your own mind as whether to come. I'll also, anything I need to pick up on, I will do so. If there's anything amiss with the vehicle, I can let you know about that prior to you setting off to us. Worth pointing out that the road test is done on exactly the same road as, or roads rather, as you'll road test the vehicle on if you're interested in purchasing the car. So it should be obviously representative of what you'll feel yourself. I always start with the engines, go through the powertrain of the car, and then on to the other functions of the vehicle. So starting with the engine, you know, your classic Honda diesel, really lovely, smooth revving engine. They're lovely, lovely units, they really are. Engine starts absolutely first turn of the key. There's no smoke, no strange noises that shouldn't be there. No vibrations, likewise, that shouldn't be on the vehicle. Pulls like an absolute train. Clearly, this is the smallest car Honda put this particular diesel engine in, and it's designed to go into much heavier sort of CRVs and FRVs, and so it's not struggling. Let's put it that way. To accelerate, it absolutely belts along. The engine. There's no warning lights on the car, I should point that out, related to the engine or anything else. And engine then goes through clutch and gearbox. Clutch on the car is very smooth and light in operation, very positive. There's no noises, no squeaks, no grumbles on the clutch pedal when you depress it, and it bites really, really nicely indeed. Then goes through to this wonderful 6-speed gearbox, typical Honda gearbox. A real lesson to other manufacturers how to do these things. It may well be cable operated, but you'd never know it. It's got such a lovely tight mechanical action to it. Very short in throw, incredibly positive. Fourth to fifth now is just a real flick of the lever, and then fifth to fourth, like, it's a lovely change. You just literally use your fingertips, bring it back, and it finds its way home. A little springing. It's these little things that make Honda so good. It's just that kind of attention to detail. But I can't find anywhere in the linkage of the gear lever at all. There's a tiny bit around, obviously, the gear lever itself, but not actually in the mechanical action of the gear lever. So in terms of engine, gearbox, and clutch, can't fault them. It's a really sweet example. Car tracks absolutely bullet straight. There's no vibrations coming back through the steering wheel thus far on the test drive. And again, there's not even a hint of slop in the steering, which suggests that any wear underneath is absolutely minimal. Likewise with the suspension, it's a really nice riding car, especially on sort of surfaces like this. Again, what I'm listening for when I'm going over bumps, I'll hear it go over the bumps, which I should do. But what I don't want to be hearing is kind of the secondary noises that I always refer to, and that's kind of clanks and bangs and the odd little shudder. That shouldn't be there, and that'll be things like kind of most commonly anti-roll bar links, little bushes that have worn through to the rubber onto the metal, and it just clanks away a bit underneath. But there's nothing on this at all. It's incredibly positive. What I love about the suspension and the steering is it's just how well it works in unison. It's just in harmony. The steering is quick. But the chassis is taut enough to keep up with it. Sometimes I remember some old Alphas used to be sort of actually quite soft riding, but with very quick racks, and that could be quite unsettling. You turn the steering wheel and the car would kind of slop and nosedive in a bit. This one, as soon as you turn the steering, the chassis is going with it, and it all just goes so nice. You just turn the wheel, it's just got that lovely fluid action to it. Because ultimately suspension is all about compromise. So whereas I guess something like a Volkswagen Golf or a Citroen or something would ride over sort of the sharper ridges more smoothly, What they don't give you is what I'm going to show you now, which is if you've got a tight left-hand corner like now, a lot of cars, they roll an awful lot. This just turns in, it's absolutely as flat as a pancake, go through the corners, so you're getting minimal body roll, which means kids in the car aren't wallowing around a lot. So, you know, comfort very much is subjective. And I've had loads of these cars, and I know my kids would far prefer to do long distance in one of these, and it's something that's ultimately, you know, initially soft riding, but ultimately quite nauseating on a long run. Just going to give the brakes a bit of a jab. Wow, we get there, good. Nice solid pedal, no vibrations, no grumbling, no pulsing, which again would suggest that the disc's all in good order. Obviously, it's all going to be checked prior to the sale of the vehicle anyway. But it's in, you know, it drives very, very tightly indeed, which you'd expect. You know, it's not a high mileage for a Honda, certainly. I mean, it genuinely is, you know, it's a quick car when you put your foot down hard, and the thing really does belt along. So, but you know, you're looking at, you know, it's a quick car, but you know, 50 plus to the gallons, very easy indeed on them. As I'm driving along speed now, I'm also listening out for wind noises that shouldn't be there. So if you had a damaged seal or badly fitted windscreen or sunroof, then that would show itself with a bit of wind hiss. But it's very quiet indeed. So take my foot off the throttle a second and just check the cruise controls working, which it is absolutely perfectly. Going to bring down the speed by using the little toggle switch here and accelerate with it, and it works perfectly. So it's all in fine order. Car's not been cleaned or valeted. You might be able to pick that up on the videos if you're a little bit dust in here, but it's going to go for a valet this afternoon, hopefully. As with all these, this is the revised model, so this is the 2009 onwards car. So it wasn't just cosmetic, they did a lot mechanically, beefed up certain things, refined other areas, notably engine noise, but they also improved the interior quality on the plastics, and the most noticeable areas are really around here. There used to be a shiny sort of gloss finish, which looked very nice when they were brand new, but only needed a few grubby fingers or fingernails more commonly, and they could look quite scratched quite easily, whereas this is incredibly hard wearing. All the switches you ignore, I mean, they're just beautifully manufactured. They'll always be really nicely done. The plastics around here and also around the door handles, again, used to mark relatively easy. It was a bright silver. Now they've gone for this kind of tungsten-y metallic look, and it's much more resistant to marking. The best part of the car for me, always has been, always will be, is the dashboard of the car. I think it's an absolute work of art. Never tire of it. It's a brilliant place to sit. You've got a wonderful natural driving position for the car. But what in effect you've got this two-tier dashboard. So as I'm looking at the car in front, I know it's a 40 mile an hour limit. I can look at the car in front for if it's going to brake or something, but I can also look at my peripheral vision and see that I'm doing 42 miles an hour, so I'm just going to slow it down a fraction. So I can take in the speed of the car and look at the car in front. I mean, it's just brilliant. It's absolutely fantastic. You've also got a little chronometer and rev warning signal up there as well for if you're going up with a high on engine revs. Further down here, we've got a more conventional binnacle, and that's got a big dominating rev counter, kind of this floating kind of information display on the middle of it for MPH and seat belts, that kind of stuff. And left and right of that, fuel and temperature gauge. Temperature gauge on the car is a third of the way up, which is exactly where it wants to be on any Honda car, petrol, diesel or otherwise. The rest of the dashboard, all the pixelations, all in fine order. Plastics are all really good indeed. So it's not been cleaned, but it'll come up really nicely. Multifunction steering wheel on the car, so we've got audio controls top left, cruise control, as I've shown, just works top right there, and then information display down the bottom here. And it looks like someone's fitted a Honda HFT unit to the car there. We've not tested it, we're not advertising it as having it, so if it works, that's great. If it doesn't, it's you know, it can be looked at or otherwise. Obviously auto lights, auto wipers, climate control system is operated from here, all really simple to use, and it's blowing out lovely ice cold air as we speak. But it really is in absolutely fabulous order. It really is. It's you know, they drive brilliantly, you know, especially kind of age for age, miles for miles, you know, compared to other manufacturers. It's a very, very high quality product. But you've got a car that's, you know, ultimately very, very interesting, and dynamically, you know, it is good fun because it's so kind of sprightly and quick and dynamic. But what it is also one of the very what's the word I'm looking for? Practical. That's it. Not that hard, was it? One of the most practical cars in its class. It's, you know, huge boot, massive amount of rear space. You know, it's fantastic. A test of any chassis, while the traffic's good, I can do this. This shows just how dynamic this car is. The next corner, not this left-hander, but the right-hand coming up after it, is a horrible little corner. It's a off-camber, sharpening right-hander, which just dips and dies. And yet this car just loves these corners. So you just go in, turn the wheel, and it's just completely unflustered. Do that in its competitors' cars and they just flop around and ugh. Oh, just put the heated seat on, by the way, and it's burning my backside, so we know the heated seats are working perfectly. Anyway, there we go. That's the test drive complete. If there's anything I've missed on the test drive, don't hesitate. Please do give us a call. I'll be more than happy to answer any questions you might have. But based on the drive I've been on, mechanically, dynamically, or otherwise, the car drives absolutely superbly. You'd be utterly delighted with it.